Think about it. We have thousands of friends, quote unquote, right at our fingertips. An endless stream of stuff to watch, to read, to scroll through. You could argue we've never been more connected. And yet, here's the crazy part. So many of us are dealing with this deep, growing feeling of being completely and utterly alone. Yeah, this quote from Harvard professor Arthur Brooks just nails it, doesn't it? It's a feeling a lot of us can probably relate to. Your phone is buzzing with notifications, but inside there's this quiet that feels kind of empty. So what is really going on here? And that's the big question, right? It's the central paradox we're going to explore today. We're going to break down the psychology behind this feeling, and we're going to uncover not just the problem, but a really surprising solution. The first clue, though, is just understanding the sheer scale of our digital lives. Okay, get this. A study from the University of Oviedo found that a whopping 97.2% of young adults are on social media every single day. I mean, that's practically everyone. It's not a hobby anymore. It's just woven into the fabric of life. But if we're all hanging out in the same digital room, why does it so often feel like it's pushing us further apart? Well, it all starts with a very familiar feeling. All right, so the first piece of this puzzle is a really powerful anxiety-driving thing that I'm willing to bet most of us have felt. FOMO. You know it, the fear of missing out. And FOMO, it's not just, being a little jealous. It's this nagging, deep down anxiety that while you're sitting at home scrolling, everybody else is out there living these amazing lives. Our social feeds have basically become a highlight reel of everyone else's greatest hits, and that constant game of comparison, it takes a serious toll. And that toll is very real. FOMO is directly connected to a whole bunch of negative mental health outcomes. When you're constantly seeing these perfect, idealized versions of other people's lives, it can spark feelings of inadequacy, stress, even depression. You're just left feeling like your life isn't quite good enough. And you know who gets hit the hardest by this? Adolescents and young adults. It makes sense, right? Their identities are still being shaped, and that feeling of social belonging is so critical. So they're especially vulnerable to the pressures of FOMO. But honestly, the anxiety is just the tip of the iceberg. The problem goes way, way deeper. So all of this anxiety, it starts to build up into something much bigger, more fundamental. We're not just losing our peace of mind here. We might actually be losing something even more important, our own story. See, all that digital noise isn't just stressing us out. It's actually chipping away at our ability to build a solid sense of who we even are. We're losing the plot of our own personal narrative. Psychoanalyst Lola Lopez Mundejar has a great term for this. She calls it living sin relato, which means without a story. On one side, you have a healthy identity, which is built on reflection, on depth. But on the other side, when your life is just dominated by digital distractions, it becomes fragmented, anxious. It can even lead to something she calls affective illiteracy, which is a fancy way of saying we kind of forget how to even understand our own emotions. So how does this even happen? Well, it's actually pretty simple. To build a story about yourself, you need quiet time. You need to be able to think, to reflect. But let's be real, our phones are basically designed to destroy those quiet moments, right? They fill every single empty space. And that slowly but surely weakens that mental muscle for self-reflection. But what if the cure was hiding in the one thing our devices have taught us to hate? Okay, now this is where things get really, really interesting. For years, we've been told that boredom is the enemy. It's something you have to avoid at all costs. But what if I told you it's actually the secret weapon for reconnecting with ourselves? I mean, think about it. What if the answer to digital loneliness isn't about finding a new app or getting more followers, but about a strategic retreat? A deliberate choice to actually embrace those quiet moments we've all been running away from. According to Arthur Brooks, boredom isn't this terrible thing we need to avoid. It's a superpower. When we let ourselves be bored, we're not just wasting time. We're giving our minds the space they need to spark creativity, to get clear on our goals, and to just, to rest and reboot. So, let's get a little nerdy for a second. Here's what's actually happening in your brain. When you stop constantly feeding it stuff from the outside, a part of your brain called the default mode network just switches on. Think of it like your brain's own internal search engine, or its creative workshop. It's where you connect the dots, make sense of things, and ultimately where you rediscover your own story. Okay, so we've talked about the problem, and we've found this super counterintuitive solution in Of all things, boredom. So now, let's get down to brass tacks. What can we actually do about it? How do we start building healthier connections with ourselves and with other people? So, what are some real practical steps you can take? It starts with simple things, like creating no phone zones in your house or prioritizing actual in-person meetups. It also means cleaning up your social media feeds, unfollow the stuff that just makes you feel bad. But that last one, embracing friction, that's the real game changer. Online chats are designed to be easy, superficial. Real connection, that's built in the messy, sometimes challenging, but ultimately amazing friction of a real human conversation.
In this quote, man, it just perfectly captures why those real-world connections are so vital. A like button is not empathy. A quick text isn't the same as really being there for someone, you know? The most important parts of being human just can't be squeezed into a digital message.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. Look, this hyper-connected world isn't going anywhere. It offers a million ways to distract ourselves, but true connection, that starts when we find the courage to disconnect, to embrace the quiet, to let ourselves be bored. Because it's in that silence that you finally get to hear your own voice, and you get to start writing your own story again. What's yours going to be?